Hey, Shirley, so founder of STAGA. Thanks very much for joining me. Could you start by introducing yourself?
First of all, thank you for having me here. So I'm Shirley, educational entrepreneur. I've been in education for 25 years, and I'm an expert on innovative music education. That's my passion. The combination of music and education, I love that. And I'm very happy and fortunate to be working in that field.
And could you tell me a little bit more of your background? Like, when did you start learning music?
Okay, so a big disclaimer, I'm not a musician. I fell in love with education. Music is my life. I've been singing and I'm flirting a little bit with piano and guitar during my years, but I haven't managed to learn an instrument like properly. Um, and I fell in love with education when I was doing my in management and in business and all kinds of other stuff. And I had a course in education, and I just fell in love with it. I felt I have a lot to contribute in that. So just after my first degree, I did my master's degree in Liverpool, in England, in education management, focusing on special education. I've been working 10 years within the system, from kindergarten teacher to special education teacher. And I couldn't find myself really within the system. So I went outside, worked in the nonprofit world, and uh, I had my own nonprofit for 10 years, which was named Imagine, focusing on music and special needs, where we had over 15,000 participants. We won international educational awards, and we became an advisory to the UN in 2020. So I'm really into, the other sides of music education, what can be new and exciting in that field that has not changed for the past 100 years or so.
Wow, so you started your own non-profit, you started a business. Seems like there's been a lot going on. Did you always know you wanted to start something yourself or be an entrepreneur?
I think it's a deduction issue. Like, I really find it hard for me to find myself in workplaces where I needed to be, just in my little square and do just what I was told and not think about other ideas. I think I'm sort of a rebel and an innovator on many levels, and it made me hard to kind of be in huge corporations, being part of. I started my first job after my degree in the university was uh, in high tech, and I didn't survive that so much. Um, I think it's something to do with your personality. They're looking for innovation, doing things differently, doing things your own way, fighting to believe in the cause because it's super. It's a I lost the word. It's a like in the theme park where you have to ride the train. Oh my God, I lost the word completely. It's
Roller
a
coaster.
roller coaster.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. My brain finally, yeah. So it's a roller coaster being an entrepreneur, but I love it. I think it's the best thing for me. And after doing it in a nonprofit world, yeah, I decided I'm going to do it in the business world, which is different and similar, the same.
Yeah, I can imagine there's a lot of skills that transfer, but then there's a lot of differences in terms of the model. How was your experience in school?
I was an excellent student. I didn't pay much attention. Learning was super easy for me, so I was this kind of nerdy, perfect student, in the PTA, in the students' council and everything. But during the lessons, I didn't listen very much. I was drawing and doodling and talking to my friends, and I was super occupied in music, and I think I had one of the first. I'm an oldie, one of the first Walkmans in school. Yeah, music was always there, but the teachers didn't like me so much because I was kind of, because everything was easy for me and I didn't need to work a lot for it. I was a little let's say, let's say.
Yeah, the reason I ask that 'cause it's always interesting when people say like yourself, like you're rebels and innovator, and I always get the feeling like, or that, yeah, like you say, not paying much attention in school, a little fussy, a little misbehaved. Because I certainly was like that, and a lot of people I seem to read about who start their own businesses seem to be like that. So it's always interesting. And so you started your own non-profit. What made you do that?
Okay, that's about my personal story. So my son, who was born right after I finished my master's degree, as you remember, in special education, was diagnosed on the autistic spectrum when he was 4 years old. And it became my life mission to really help him because it kind of, fell in my lap after really understanding, knowing, working with this kind of kids. I knew everything I had to do. I put all my life on pause and focused for 6 years of elementary school on teaching him. I often say that. I hope it's not offensive, but I'm talking from, personal experience. It's kind of the same as teaching AI, teaching your autistic kid the social behavior, like the do's and don't do's of what you do, how to acquire friends. This is what you say, this is what you don't say. And it's a lot of work kind of building the social network and the friends. And it had to be all in a place where I can, control the environment. And I was looking for afternoon programs, and it was really difficult to find programs that could be inclusive for him, although he's super high functioning. And it really bothered me. And I said, music is supposed to be such an inclusion tool. How come there is no music education for special needs? And I started working within schools and afternoon programs, and I found amazing projects that became our partners and inspiration around the world, from Finland to Scotland to everywhere in between, offering many methodologies and ideas of what to do. And because I believe in education so much, I kind of took all the ideas and I built pedagogies from it. It was really important for me to kind of have, a written religion of how to do this kind of work using technologies, using alternative notations, kind of breaking the paradigms of if you have special needs, they can do only percussions, which is not true. They can do much more, especially the autistic spectrum, which are excellent in music inherently. And it was really exciting for me to be a non-musician in a super musician world, and to be kind of suspected but accepted by the ministry. I became very good friends with the people in the music department in the Ministry of Education, because when first I got to them and I said, "Hi, I'm Shirley. I'm not a musician. I want to write a music pedagogy for special education," they looked at me like I just landed from Mars. And rightfully so. But I worked very hard in going to the field, meeting the students, working with the schools, getting their feedbacks, and kind of working our ways into finding the best way, the best methods, ways to really make a change through music. And we found out, we did a huge research on 170 projects, and we were astonished by the results of how much music impacted students, both on academic level, on a personal level, and on social level. So we had all of this amazing data showing us how really impactful music is. And from that, it was really obvious for me that I should do something for the rest of the students, not just for special education, and to really make a change in music education. That's what brought STAGA around.
Phenomenal achievement going from not being a musician to be able to achieve that. How did you make it work? Like, how did you? I can imagine it's one thing having the thought to start it, but how did you execute that?
I think the idea is to be, I love to say that one of the most important things in entrepreneurship is not to be in love with your idea. because you come up with these sparkly eyes and say, oh, I have this amazing dream. And then you go to the field and you realize that, okay, 70% works, but 30 needs to change. That's good numbers. And you constantly change and you stay agile and you stay attentive to the feedback. One of my best friends that helped me at the beginning of my nonprofit, he said to me, love the no. Love the no. Learn a lot from why people tell you no, for why things do not work, for why a school doesn't want you to repeat a second year. You need to understand and learn these things because it can give you a lot of insights. So I think I fell in love with the no, and I really took every feedback full attention. And we tried working with different groups, different ages, in different levels, in different ideas. And because we got to work with so many people, eventually you see patterns forming and you say, okay, this is a great methodology. It works with everyone. This app has a huge success, and eventually you grow more confident in what you do, and you start to succeed in bigger percentages, and you the fine-tuning becomes much smaller. So 5% here, 7% here, and each project, I remember myself selling when I was selling to schools, telling them, they said, we want to come see a group. And I said, you need to understand every group is different because it's a different age, it's a different level, it's different abilities. And so we fine tune our pedagogy to each group. And I think the best tool I took from that into education is doing what we call a skeleton pedagogy. Skeleton pedagogy kind of sets the points you need to go through, but leaves a lot of room for your personality as a teacher and for what happens in the class, for the back and forth with the students. So if the students are more, jumpy and they need more energy, you can do this. And if they're more quiet and relaxed, you need to do this. And if you're talking about kids with ADHD, you better do this. And if you're talking about kids with autism, you better watch for this. So you kind of learn as you go, but you leave a lot of room for the teacher in the program and just put, in points where you need to go through. So I think that's what I took from working in my nonprofit, and that's the way that I think you should build pedagogies inside. Like really put an attention to the feedback from the students.
Yeah, that's interesting because I look back to when I was at school and I can't remember learning anything where we actually gave feedback. We were just given a book and told to learn, and that's probably why I failed anything having ADHD. So it's good. It's good to see people like yourself building things that change that.
I think once EdTech has started and there are a lot of technologies that want to go into the field, it's super important to remember that the students are your clients eventually. They're not the one paying for the product, but they are your clients and they need to be happy and satisfied. Like we did this amazing program this year with a very fancy school in Israel. And I remember calling the headmaster and saying, okay, how is it going? What is the feedback? And she told me, if students are running after me in the halls and saying, when is the next lesson? It means you're doing great. So also the headmasters and teachers listen to what the students say. If they're not connected, they didn't like it, you won't succeed there. And I just issued a newsletter kind of spreading this information because I don't think that many EdTech entrepreneurs meet, really go to teach the students and really meet the students, and it's priceless. It's amazing the amount of things you can learn from students because you engage them, you say, hi, we're doing this, it's our first year. We really love to hear your feedback and your ideas. And they had some amazing ideas. And we learn unbelievable things from them. So it's really important to consider it's not just the teachers, it's not just the headmasters, it is definitely the students who can make or break your product.
It's interesting you say that because it makes me think of like the methodologies of selling to schools. Like you can go in top down and target the districts or the head teachers, or you can go bottom up, target the school, the students, get them to love the product. They vouch for it to the teacher, and the teacher vouches to the head teacher, and they buy it. And I wonder if the bottom up method is the best in terms of impact, but the top down is the best in terms of financial rewards and how easy it is to sell the product.
I think it worked. I would say that the selling point will be top bottom and not bottom up. So even if the students are super happy, they will not convince the headmaster to buy and put the budget for it. So, but I'm talking about places where we already got in the school. And sometimes, sometimes it clicks immediately and sometimes it doesn't. And in these cases, you don't need to give up. You really need to sit down with the students. This generation is fascinating for me because they are very insightful and they are eager to be engaged in the process. Like we had some students told us, yeah, we want to be your testers. So anything new that you give, we would love to try it. And, they were excited to meet us as founders because when you talk about nurturing creativity and entrepreneurship, and it's very important for schools to nurture that, and they never meet someone who's actually done that, it's missing some points, and they were like super excited when they realized we are the founding people, the ones who came to teach them. We are actually the founders. And it was brilliant, and I think they have a lot to say. I think they surprised us on so many levels. We had this multiple questions just to see if they understood what we're teaching, and we thought it was the most boring thing in the world, but apparently a generation that grows on gamification and having, the rush of getting, hooray, correct, amazing. They loved it. There's so much that we kind of doubled the exercises in our product because we realized, yeah, it gives them the dopamine rush that they love so much and they know so much from the gaming. So I think especially in this generation when things are technology is moving so fast, you have to have connection with the students and listen to what they have to say, because these things can really make a difference to your product. That's how I see it.
And so obviously we've briefly touched on the non-profit you founded, that you did that for 10 years. How did you go out and ended up founding STAGA?
COVID happened. I was working in special education. We were working in schools, afternoon programs, and hospitals. All of them stopped for over a year during COVID, and we were sitting at home, and I was going bananas because when you have the bug of entrepreneurship, it's a problem doing nothing. And I said, okay. So what do I want to do now? And I said, okay, maybe it's time to invest in myself. I always write and sing. Maybe I learn how to compose. So I tried going online and finding, some basic course in music theory. And I found these two amazing Swedish teachers. They were super fun. It was amazing. After the third lesson, I said, no, this is not for me. Something is not. And I called up one of my most amazing teachers in my nonprofit, and I said, hey, is there any way to learn music theory or to learn composing music in an easier way? Because there are tools like GarageBand and things that you can play and create music, but if you don't understand how the parts go together, the puzzle doesn't look very well. So how can I really do that? And we started sitting and figuring out how to teach music, not based on notes and instruments, but based on what the music industry is based upon, which is the DAWs like Cubase and Ableton, GarageBand, Pro Tools, and all of these. And how do you teach that musical language to students? And we started playing around with this idea, and we showed it to all kinds of professors and interesting people. And one of them, which is a professor for computer science, looked at it and he said, "Do you get that you're teaching coding through music?" And I said, "We didn't even consider that." And then we started looking at that as how music is a platform for skill development. How many skills are around music? If we start with math and coding, which is like obvious because it's in the same areas in the brain, and then language, and then teamwork and collaboration and self-worth, and so many things that are involved in music and work so well with music. And of course, creativity, which is so sought after as a skill to develop in students in the 21st century. And you find that art programs, music programs are super old-fashioned, or super laid back, or super not digitized, not coming to the 21st century. Everything is like super 70s and is, and even before. Music, the way we teach music today has not changed for over 100 years, which is crazy in this time of age. Say, yeah, our pedagogy is like 100 years. So that's how STAGA was born, to kind of bring music in a whole different way, in a whole different aspect, more focusing on creation and not performance, and putting a huge impact on collaboration and communication and working together, and sharing things with the world. It's a generation that creates content in crazy numbers. So add music to that layer. And we really focus on the idea of moving from subject to skills, because skills is the word of the 21st century. It is what schools are for, to prepare them for the job market. And we're seeing these gaps between how and what they learn in school and how the job market looks, growing bigger and bigger. And I think one of the best things we do in STAGA, when they work in teams, we allow them to give each other peer assessment based on their strength. And I think that's the second bad thing I find in education today, that we still focus on fixing the places where you are weak instead of reinforcing and nurturing the places where you are strong. Like if you are a creative person with ADHD, probably the learning, history would not be the best thing for you. But if you had to do a storyboard, or kind of do a 1-minute video on, it would be much, much more easy for you to do that, and much more easy for you to succeed in that. And it will bring you to acquire strength and skills that would work for you in the job market, because eventually that's where we're headed. So I think that the focus on finding the creative spark, the ability to create in each student was super important for us. And it's an amazing process to see the nurturing of creativity, because it's really hard to teach creativity. Think about it. It's kind of like teaching love. It's kind of vague. Teach creativity in a very sweet, kind of guided way that takes a lot from, I must say, from art. Because when you get to an art lesson, the teacher doesn't give you a canvas and colors and tell you, okay, just paint whatever you want. Because you might have an idea for the first lesson or the second lesson, but on the third lesson you will start standing in front of the page for 2 hours just trying to figure out. So we kind of give them the first spark, like a little hint or tip or mission to do, and then they can take it wherever they want. So it is amazing to see, like we have this video of our students for a minute and a half. There is total, it's a music lesson. There is total silence in the classroom. Everyone is super focused in their creation on the computer. And from time to time, they let each other listen to what they created. So it's amazing to see how you can really nurture creativity. You can really, like it's a muscle that you flex every day and you work on it and you kind of build on it. And I think it's super important to kind of bring arts back in an innovative way that will make the curriculum more well-rounded and not just technology and STEM oriented. It needs to be multifaceted and well-rounded. That's the word I use the most. We put a lot on the science and technologies and mathematics and all of this, which is super important, yeah. But you need to not leave behind the arts and humanities. They're also very, very important for the other things we need to do in our job, to be agile, to be creative, to be teamwork. Yeah, it's important.
That's interesting because I often get the feeling that people can see creativity as something that's innate rather than being a muscle, therefore it's hard to teach.
I think it comes from the arts. The classic arts are very exclusive. You need to be a genius to write music. You need to be super talented to play the piano. You need to be super... No, creation is a human basic feature. Like throughout the history of our kind, wherever we went, we danced, we painted, we used music. It was always there. And for some reason, we took it to a more exclusive. Instead of putting it inclusive, I will give you the parallel for me. I always use it. It's PE. We know PE is important. We know it attributes the muscle and the body and everything. And we do it throughout the 12 years that students are in school. Most of them will not be football players. Most of them will not be professional athletes. But still, it's a skill and it's a muscle that's very important to keep them not overweight, to keep them fit, to keep them alert. It helps concentration. It's the same with arts. It's a muscle. You need to flex it. You need to move it. You need to make students, and I did the same thing in Imagine, but on a different level. There I taught playing, and I showed that anyone can play an instrument if you have the right inclusive and accessibility to different methodologies of music education. And now I'm talking about music creation, and I say, you know, anyone can create music. I'm not saying he will win the Grammy, okay? It's not the idea. It's not the idea that he will become a musician full time, but it is the idea to allow him to believe he or she has the capability to create. It's super important. Because if we want people to be innovators and agile and adapt to a rapidly changing reality, they must be creative. And I think it's super important, and it's really easily done if you put it in the right tool, you know, in the right process. Because if you ask 100% of the students that went through our program if they are able to create, is creativity exclusive and far away, they will say no. Everybody can make music. And that's what we wanted to do, kind of make it really simple and fun.
I guess that's an issue with society, is that what we are encouraged to do is determined by potential future success. So if you're 14, 15 and you say, I want to go and study music, the response from teachers, careers advisors might be, oh, well, you're never going to have a career in music. And then naturally everyone gets pushed to doing STEM because it's got the best career prospects. So Yeah, I think that is an issue, and that's probably why things like creativity can often be stifled and pushed aside for like the STEM and logical subjects, as important as they are.
But if you look at many of the best scientists, the best entrepreneurs, the best leaders, and you look for how much music they did through their lives or how much music they still, if they have an instrument in their house, you would be amazed of the percentage. You would be amazed at the percentage, because eventually creative is creative is creative. Whether it's creative by writing an amazing code and leading a company, or creating music, they needed to have this stimulation to the artistic side. And I do agree that many parents would be much more happy if child goes to the university to study computer science than to study arts. But the job market is changing and looking for more diversity, and people coming from arts are doing amazing things right now within the high tech job market. So I do think it goes hand in hand. I don't think it's a case of either or. I think it's a case of the more skills we give them, the more possibilities we open for them. It's as simple as that.
Wholeheartedly agree with that, and yeah, fundamentally, everything boils down to problem solving, right? And to solve a problem, you've got to be creative.
Definitely.
So obviously, you've come up with a great idea. You've got a great product. How did you go from there into getting your first customers?
Super easy. I have 10 years experience of selling to schools. They know me very well. I think I have uh, this great luck and privilege to really know my market very well, understand the selling point very well, understand the needs and the pains, and being able to be part of the school environment for 25 years. I know a lot about the revolutions and the voices and the trends within the education system. And I think we came up with something that is super unique, and we're seeing a lot of thirst. Like we hardly get no from schools. We hardly get no, because they're all looking for this new idea of what to do other than teach coding, teach math, teach science, and teach computers, and teach, like they're anxious to see new things happening in this area. And unfortunately, you see more and more of the same. And we are going, we talk to different markets around the world, whether it's the homeschooling in the US, which is a super interesting growing market in education, the micro schools all over the States and the world, like, small private schools that have these unique ideas, from the project-based learning private schools around the world, um, and big educational systems that say, wow, this is amazing, something new in music. We haven't got that in a few years. So I think we were lucky to choose something that, first of all, doesn't have so much competition, especially in the way we took. We are almost like unique in what we do. And we've known and worked with the education system for a long time. So in Israel specifically, where we come from, we have this direct line to the Ministry of Education, which is a pleasure to be able to do and kind of look at how they take this product and make it something that will go into the curriculum this coming year and really grow immensely. I think eventually all schools are looking for the AI and the technologies and how to really, kind of jump ahead from books and paperwork and notebooks and, and writing on the blackboard to where reality is at this moment. Because even as you see what students is offered in their afternoon programs and their fun time with themselves, as opposed to school, it's like it's a gap of at least 50 years, and I'm being really, really subtle when I'm saying this. They still have, the teachers and all the administration and it's really lagging behind what's happening in the job market. And they're super in love with their ideas. So sad you shouldn't be. You hear that, the CEO of NVIDIA, he talked in a few interviews and he said, stop teaching them to code. You don't need to code anymore. It's not necessary to code. Teach them how to work with each other. Teach them how to be attentive. Teach them how to work with their strength. Teach them how to, to be innovative and flexible. But coding is not important anymore. And everywhere around the world, like, coding is the most important thing to learn now. So yes, it is an interesting journey for sure, but I feel lucky that there's a lot of room in where area that we are operating in.
So it seems like you've solved the big problem of being able to sell to schools, that which most edtechs find probably the most difficult, or a large proportion find very difficult. What would you say has been the most difficult thing for you?
The most difficult thing for me is being in EdTech. EdTech is a very problematic market, and I would dare to say that I see the problem very clearly, because part of the entrepreneurs going into EdTech are teachers or people who have knowledge from working in the field but have no knowledge of running a business or understanding the monetizing part of the business and understanding, where the money will come from. They will have amazing ideas for educational applications, but no understanding of where the money is going to come from. And on the other side, you can see techies who have brilliant ideas, but don't know the market at all, and have products that are super expensive, not fitting the schools, ignoring the teachers, and I think that the ones that really succeed, and there are really, really few who make, lots of money and become huge companies in EdTech, are the ones who are clever enough to have the combination of someone who comes from the tech world and someone who comes from the education world, being attentive to both sides and, fulfilling their potential. I think it's a problematic market. People are less happy to invest in. It's very hard to get investment, and it's a different type of company. I'm trying to say to the investors and angels that I meet, you need to understand that it's an educational market. So you grow organically from year to year. You can grow immensely from year to year, but still it's more organically. It's less going into shows and conferences and, and the way you sell, I don't know, cyber or really deep tech technologies. It's not about that. It's about really meeting the distributors, the people who know the different markets and understand and are used to selling books or softwares or things to schools. They're expert in that. I think the most challenging is the fact that the people with the money and the decision makers within the financial side of startups don't know and don't appreciate enough how important EdTech is. I think it's one of the most important. It's with health tech and all the other impact techs. It is really crucial that we change significantly the way our children are taught in school. And it's because it has a lot of pedagogical side and then tech side. It's not as expensive to run an edtech company as a full tech company, because you don't have so many people on the tech side, and it enables you to even bootstrap really easily and grow from year to year normally without doing, a seed A, B, and so on, and be in all this journey that usually startups go through. But I find more and more people who are invested in this area. I hope this group of people will grow and really understand these kind of businesses that can be very successful businesses, but they do not. I think sometimes the fact that we call it EdTech and put it with the fintech and the cybertech and all the other techs is harming us in a way, because it's a different ball game. But slowly and surely, it's gonna get there. So I think it's a very interesting industry. It will become more and more powerful and more money worth, because schools are in big trouble.
And are you fully bootstrapped, or have you taken on external funding?
I took on 2 angels at the moment, just to help us. We're doing a launch for the B2C for homeschooling in the US, which as I told you, is an amazing market for me. And we needed this leg of development of technological development. But I believe that good edtechs can manage with bootstrapping for a while, at least, if they know what they're doing, if they understand the market, if they do well their market fit, and understand their users well, they can really grow from sales only and become international. It's kind of has an approach of very complicated, but it's basically quite easy to penetrate the new markets, because you need to know the distributors that work in each market, and they are distributors in every market around the world, because these are people who used to sell books and like physical and learning aids, and now they're doing it on a digital level, and there are amazing distributors, and you work with them and they just open the market. So the marketing is not foot on the ground like you do with other industries, that you need to have a local person. If you go to Brazil, you need to have a local person in Brazil. If you go to Mexico, you need a person in Mexico. If you go to France, you need someone in France. No, you just need to find a distributor and work through him. Of course, if you have a good product and it sells and fits the market, yes. So distributors would realize there's something good happening and will help you move forward. And I think that's the way you should do it. I think many people are stuck waiting for the money. So getting a press seed is super hard. Super, super hard. It's not like, it's going to be a unicorn in 3 years. It's or exit in 4. It's not going to happen. And you better be realistic and focused on what you're going to achieve and how you're going to achieve it and how you're going to grow, and not hang in dreams that will never come true, because it's super, super rare to find unicorns in EdTech. Super rare.
Yeah, I can think of maybe 1 or 2, and I don't know if they've still got unicorn status. I know maybe not. So yeah, it is super rare. Like any industry, distribution is key. So if you were, say, you were starting an EdTech again from scratch, would you say the most important thing, or one of the most important things, would be to partner in with good distributors?
Yes, I was fortunate enough to have, I'm not coming from the tech side at all. So it was really frightening for me to dive into this pool at the beginning, because you know nothing. And they give you this PRD, which is a super scary document. And you look at it and you don't know. And I was super fortunate to have a good friend and a brilliant product strategy called a D, that she joined me, and she said, "Shirley, we're going to build this product." And it put me at ease. I think that was the scary part of the project, because the sales never troubled me. I come from 10 years of experience of selling educational products, so I know how you do it. This is a different product. It aims for a different age, for a different population, but it's the same idea. In the area of sales, I think there's the most help you get from other entrepreneurs in the area of EdTech, because it's not that the distributor would take this one and then it wouldn't take another. Usually they look at the products, they choose the good products, but they go to the market and they say what they have a whole catalog. They're not into this or that product. They just have a huge catalog and everybody chooses and they see what goes best, what works best. So yeah, I think that the combination of someone with background in education and someone in background with tech and understanding your market very, very, very well and how you sell to it and understanding who would be the middleman and the distributors in that sense.
And you're building the company, I believe, in Israel. You're based in Israel right now, but you've also got customers in the States. Are your customers spread out around the world, or?
Yeah, so I started the company in Israel. I think I'll move it soon. I won't go into that. I think it's kind of obvious. But there are regulations around the world. Like if you want to go into districts of schools in the US, you need to have some entity in the US. I think in the UK it's quite similar. So you do need to have these kind of little daughter companies around the world in each market if you want to start doing more of a real B2B or B2G. Like if you want to work with ministries of education, you need to be a local supplier. And for some distributors, it's important for you to be a local supplier because of the moving of the money and all the regulations around that. I think it's less important where you come from, because I think it's one industry where everybody knows they're in trouble. You don't get to talk to any minister of education, even not in Norway or Finland, and all these great places that they have the best education in the world, that is not worried. There is none. I don't think there is a minister of education in the world that goes and says, yeah, we're perfect. Because there is a huge gap between the academia and what they used to learn and how the curriculums look like and how the school looks like still now. Homework, books, it's changing for the better all the time. They're doing an effort, but it's not fast enough. My personal belief is that the huge companies like Apple, Lego, Microsoft, Meta, and all of them will eventually change the education system from the outside in, not from the inside out. It will not be able to work from the inside. So they will do things to change the systems. I believe so.
And final question, what is the best piece of advice you've been given, or your favorite quote, or like a guiding principle you live by?
Yeah, the thing that I said at the beginning, don't fall in love with your idea. Do not hold on to your idea. Every company does pivots. Every company needs to listen to the market, to listen to its users, to understand, look them in the eye, and realize that it fits them. And I think that many people are afraid because they say, we went so far, we cannot change. Yes, you do have to change constantly. You need to be flexible constantly. You need to react to what's happening in the field constantly, especially in education, because we're talking about a generation with an attention span like this, and you need to engage them and you need to make it happen. So come up with an idea, but be a little flexible with it because things are going to change. I talk to my team a lot and I say, guys, you remember, flexible. Let's be flexible. Yeah, I know we love this thing, but the students don't like it. So moving on. And it's the best idea, I think, for anyone who leads an organization, no matter what field they're in. I think it's super important to check yourself from time to time, to look in the mirror and say, are we really doing the right thing? Are we really on the spot? Or are we a little bit to the left or the right? And we need to adjust ourselves. And I'm just fearless when it comes to changes. Say, okay, you need to do that. Okay, let's go. And it's super important. It's super, super important because otherwise it breaks you. If every time you need to change, it's terrible for you, then it's gonna break you very fast because, as we said, it's a roller coaster, up and down and all the time.
Yeah, the world of startups and entrepreneurship really is embracing change and the ability to pivot and react. But yeah, Shirley, thanks so much for coming on. It was amazing to hear about your time at building a non-profit and then the founding of STAGA, and a pleasure to have you on. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Alex. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for this opportunity.